Hey guys, this is Emmanuel, just your emotion code practitioner out here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Just want to do a really quick video in regards to pets. And I really understand what pets are just because my daughter has a few of them, maybe like 10 now. Lizards, snakes, different things like that. But we've had two dogs, a rabbit, and even in my own life, I've had a rabbit myself, and I've also had two birds, parakeets to be exact. And so I've always had an affinity for animals, and I've noticed that, yes, animals do make you happy. In fact, if you watch the movie The Secret, it talks about this cat and how cats make you feel happy, and that keep preserve that feeling of happiness, and that what a wonderful gift it is. That's what was being said in the movie, because it talks about like how to, like, even if you don't have much, you could still be happy with little things. And one of the things could be just an animal, just your love and affinity for a pet of yours that could become, I've noticed, like family, like friends. I've seen family photos with the dog there. So it seems like it becomes part of the family. So the first thing I want to tell you is that I honestly do believe, maybe sounding biased a little bit, that the emotion code is an amazing tool for this type of work, especially because I want to share with you guys a story of a client that basically said, our dog is about 12 years old, having a lot of issues with pain. And I just said, give me a little crack at it. I'll work on the spine, the neck area, and see if I can remove some trapped emotions from those areas. And we did that. And so I wanted to share that with you guys just to show you how amazing this is. By the way, number one is that we did this long distance. So if you're thinking about like, where can I go for help with a dog or my cat or any type of animal, you may even, in fact, if you read the book, The Emotion Code by Dr. Riley Nelson, he begins working with horses. I understand why that's a really great thing to do, because what he did is, obviously the horse trainer who spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on maybe all his stable, they know their horse when there's differences in health or where there's differences in behavior. So it's a very good market to do with horses. But you can do it with your dog, with your cat, with any type of pet. They're dealing with 60 trapped emotions. For those of you who are brand new to the emotion code, what the emotion code is a discovery from Dr. Bradley Nelson, who was a chiropractor in his previous life, had his brick and mortar business before, but he started realizing that people started continuing to come back with similar issues. Maybe he would make a correction, but there was still pain. So there was something going on an emotional level. He understood from the ancients that our organs exude the emotions that we experience. They go through our organs. And usually when they get, usually they're supposed to, when we feel them, they kind of go on their way. Now, if they get stuck, these little energies that we call emotions, the size of a tennis ball or cantaloupe, they can get lodged in different parts of your body. For example, the organ of liver is anger, bitterness, guilt, hatred, resentment. That's why whenever you take a little sip of the bubbly, you may have some anger, bitterness, guilt, hatred, resentment come out. But also with animals, they deal with very similar things, and they deal with 60 trapped emotions as well. One of the main, I'll tell you this, one of the main reasons why animals can receive these trapped emotions, like I said, they have to be very intense for it to qualify as a trapped emotion for their body. But a lot of it could be absorbed. That's one of the beautiful things I learned about the emotion code, is that you could actually absorb from your environment. If you have a bad marriage, dog may have a bad marriage within himself. If you're miserable, your dog may slowly become miserable itself, because you can actually project energies and he can absorb, that's not the sound it makes, but you can absorb the energy of the owner. So I've seen it before. In fact, I know this fairly famous lady who was in the music industry, and she was telling I guess her and her partner were going through some things, and the dogs were miserable. They were starting to be very kind of like just moping around more. They started even fighting with each other as well. So it seemed like you would think that, well, they're just dogs and, they fight sometimes. No, it's actually, they are absorbing the owner's energy. And so it's very, very possible. And so anyway, what I want to share with you is this really quick story. Hopefully you guys appreciate it, and send this to anyone that you may know that has a dog, has a pet, and they have maybe either pain in their body, or there's some emotional behavior things that are going kind of wrong. Scared of a pole, scared of people, scared of other animals, but it's a little more than usual, I would say. Or maybe very selective in eating. You never know. Anything at all symptomatic wise with the dog, you may want to look into having an emotion code practitioner look into the situation. So I want to read this story from this lady who basically said this. I had a session with Emmanuel to clear my dog's trapped emotions. My dog has been historically been terrified of the weather when it's raining. This behavior has been observed for well over a decade. After one session of clearing all of her trapped emotions, she is no longer showing signs of distress by the weather. We just had rain for a few days, nights straight from Hurricane Harvey, and she was calm every time I checked on her. She did not try to force her way in through the front door, to scratch up the front door to let her in the house. She's an outside dog. She also had a significant improvement in pain reduction after the session. She had just been diagnosed with a spinal injury and had been in much pain. So painful we almost had to put her down to the end. I'm so glad she kind of brought this up to me, because when I heard she says, "Oh, we're thinking about putting her down," I was like, "No, don't do that. Let's work on her." "Oh, you work on dogs," and so that's how it happened. And so, however, right after the session, she started holding her head up higher and moving around better. At this point, I have her off all the pain meds and drugs, and just giving her natural supplements, and she seems to be doing very well. I'm very grateful to have access to such an amazing tool. This really changes how I perceive and approach healing. It's quite amazing. Thank you. So anyway, I just wanted to share that really quick story. I've worked with multiple animals, but this is one of my favorite stories, just because the dog's about 12 years old. Can you just imagine, just very old, and it was beautiful. She didn't mention it here, but she said the next morning, instead of being on the porch in a lot of pain around 8 a.m., that was around the time where she would always see him under pain. He was out there chasing a bird and just, hanging out. There's other situations where, this dog had anxiety, and then all of a sudden when I worked with him the next day, no one's ever rubbed his belly for the longest time, and her child was able to rub the dog's belly like 3 times in that day. Also, it ran across the street for the first time ever, which was amazing, because it's really like scared to go across the street, and it's never done it. And then the neighbor was even surprised, going like, "Hey, your dog's never been over here. Like, what is it?" So obviously the anxiety went down to the point where even the dog was allowed to felt comfortable to meet a complete stranger and to have their own family rub on their belly. So the anxiety was definitely going down. So there's just countless stories we have with dogs, cats, and again, it's personal to me just because we had our own dog, we have our own pets as well. And so literally, I always joke around with my daughter. I said, if this happened with your pet, would you rather save a pet or a human? It's like, my pet, of course, just because humans are just terrible people. I'm like, whoa, give humanity a chance. But it's just kind of a run-in joke that I always have with her. I was just like, so we got a new pet. So is it this pet or like the guy you like at school or whatever? And she's just like, I do like this guy or whatever. She doesn't usually like have crushes yet, but I'm just saying, like, just with, I'll mention friends and stuff like that. It's just kind of funny how much these children adore these animals. In fact, we had one of my first clients that was a child. Unfortunately, the dog passed away, and literally caused so much depression to this child that his head was hanging low. He was one of the only clients that he came actually to my office, and so but it was just really interesting how his whole paradigm of life was lost just because of dogs. So for those of you who have kids, you may think like, oh yeah, that's just a little family dog, blah, blah, blah. Trust me, the thermostat of the emotional and physical state of the dog can be affecting your children, and they love to see the dog being up and about and things. And maybe you've been procrastinating to work with the dog. I'm telling you, the kids see the dog and feel the energy. They're empaths in themselves, and I was just shocked to see that his whole paradigm literally was shifted for only one thing, which was the dog died. I mean, that's a very drastic situation, but I'm just letting you know that it could ruin the state of a dog or pet, can ruin the kids and kind of how they feel. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this story about this dog that had the spinal injury and having no fear over the hurricane that just recently happened. And so if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment below. Feel free to share your story. If you're an emotion code practitioner, share your story below. And we'd love to just let people know that this is a method that we can assist your pet with. And so with that, have an amazing day. Again, I always end my videos like this, which is, the world has a false notion where if I take care of you, I'll take care of you if you take care of me. But we all know that if we take care of ourselves, then we can authentically take care of others. And as we help ourselves, then we can change our home, we can change our city, we can change the country, and eventually maybe we can change the world. So with that, I love you guys. Take care, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.